I want to thank the board of MWDOC for inviting me and having me here. I want to thank also General Manager Rob Hunter for being a great partner for us. But also I want to thank the chair of our board, Gloria Gray, and the board members. I have many of them here. The partners, we just went through 2 days of planning and retreat and really coming together to really set the priorities for really serving you and working for you and providing sustainable, resilient water for every single member in our service area, and doing it in a holistic, integrated, respectful, with equity and transparency for everyone. Does that sound something we want to be part of? Yeah. I want to just acknowledge some of the board members we have. I know my friend Miguel Luna, and I know we have Adan Ortega. Thank you, Dr. Ortega. I'm not sure who else I have from the board, but I want to make sure that I have 38 board members. And that's not easy job. It takes I started the job with a full head of hair, and as you can see, I'm not keeping up well. But really, it has been a great journey to really meet and get around the service area and to understand the issues and to meet with every board members that we had. And we all in this room share a commitment to water, a commitment to people, to life. And water is life, and water is critical. And if we forget that what we're doing also is for people, through providing affordable water for everyone under our underserved community, everyone in our region, nobody should be left behind. So I'm an engineer, and as I always say, I have an admission. I've been through rehab. I can talk to people, and I can see. But there is a good thing about it. I'm a person that loves to talk to people, work with people, empower people, but also have my systematic thinking of everything aligned. And we're facing a lot of challenges when it comes to water. We have this thing called the drought, and we have major challenges facing us. And you've heard about a declaration on the Colorado River. For the first time, we are declaring a drought shortage in the Colorado River. We haven't had this since we filled the lakes in the 30s. We have 5% allocation for our state water project coming from the Northern Sierras, and we may be going to zero allocation. There's something we're dealing with. Whether we call it climate change or not, the climate is changing. What we're seeing is something that we haven't seen before. We've dealt with droughts, but we had one part of the system that's constrained, but not both parts of the system. And the snowpack in the Rockies and in the Sierras this year have been around 80 to 90%. And that seems to be a good thing. However, what's making it to the waterways, to our rivers, to our reservoirs, is only 30 to 35%. And that tells you what's happening. There's evaporation of our snowpack, and the ground is so dry that it's soaking every drop of water. We've done good here. We have 50%, about 50% of the water is sourced locally because of the work that people like Orange County has done. Investing in recycled water, investing in groundwater recharge. And the work we've done recently in the city of Fullerton, we've activated, with the help of Orange County as a whole, activated a PFAS treatment system to bring some of the groundwater wells back to operation. But we're seeing this issue across our region. There's a lot of groundwater wells that are this close to being off service. And that's when we have to step in and figure out how we can help everyone, how we can help every community have safe and affordable water. So I see Met and Metropolitan as an agency that was created by the member agencies and everyone here. And our job is to work hard to service every part of our member agency. It doesn't matter where you are, it doesn't matter how small you are, it doesn't matter what part of the service area you have and you are in. We have a responsibility. Water is a human right. We know that we need to help each other. Met has done a great job with our member agencies like Orange County, San Diego, West Basin, folks across our region in LA and Las Virgenes. Everybody has been working really hard on conservation. The water we're using today is the same as the water we're using 40 years ago. 20 years ago, if you look at the projections of how much water we're going to use every year, it was close to 3.2 million acre-feet per year. Right now, we're bringing in about 1.6, 1.7 million acre-feet per year. Imagine if we didn't do the work that you all have done in conservation, the amount of work you've done in recycling and injection, where would we be? But more needs to be done. And that's what I want to talk about the future. The future we have here is a future of doubling down on local water supply. What I call one water. Integration, innovation, inclusion. We need to think differently. We need to leverage resources. Build our, what I call, we had 3 aqueducts that made our region what it is. The LA Aqueduct, the State Water Project, and what Metropolitan built, the Colorado Aqueduct. I'm asserting that we have a responsibility today is to build a 4th aqueduct. And that's not a pipeline. That's a combination of recycled water, like we have with West Basin and LA and Orange County and San Diego, and partnership with LA County Sanitation District that we're doing, with, I know, Inland Empire, and all of us, we need to step in and figure out how we can recycle our water, capture more water, and then use our groundwater as storage, and rebuild more storage. There's a lot of capacity we have in our groundwater basins across our region that we should use regionally. And we need to invest in how we bring water and store it. How many people have been to Diamond Valley Lake in Hemet? That's great. Diamond Valley Lake in Hemet was built and the water was put in 2000. It was thought of and planned in 1980. That vision, that bold vision of building a $2 billion lake, which is the anchor of our reservoir. We started this year with 3.2 million acre-feet of storage because of the work we have done together, the investments we have done together. So we've done good, but we cannot keep going this way as we're seeing our shrinking water supply happen. And it's not just water quality, it's water quantity, it's water quality too. So I know in Orange County, we're concerned about salinity and how we address salinity coming from the Colorado. So we really need the State Water Project to help us. But also we need to figure out how we address source control, we're working with Bureau of Reclamation, and how we do it here locally. So we need to think big. We need to figure out how we can increase our local water supply, partnering with everyone. And Met has to rethink its future. We're no longer just importers of water. And we had a great discussion today at the board. Is Met a provider of water, supplier of water? I think we say, yes, we have to be. That's the future. We need to create water for everyone. And the question is how we pay for it. Now, that's the dialogue we're going to have. How does the local resource program work? Should Met really be investing and building local water supply or partnering with member agencies to invest to create new water that we can use regionally? I think we need to continue working together and develop a one water plan. And that's something we're going to launch soon, starting next year, to develop an implementation plan for addressing the future of water here through policies, through projects, through connecting systems, building storage. You know, we still have today some of our member agencies dependent on one source of water, State Water Project. That's not acceptable in 2021. It's not acceptable. We have a responsibility. And what made Met great is this collaboration, that the leveraging of resources coming together. You know, everybody's envious of having an agency like Metropolitan in Southern California. Northern California does not have an agency like us. And I want to bring back the we are one concept in Met, that we are here together. You know, when we paid for Diamond Valley Lake, it was paid by all of us. It was not paid by the people benefiting from it. But now it's helping us all. So we have to invest in generating more recycled water, capturing more storm water, partnering with our partners in the groundwater basin to recharge the basins when we have water, and addressing water quality. But also we need to tell our partners in the federal government, the state government, that investing in Southern California when it comes to water is not a local issue. This is a state issue. This is a regional issue for Southwest. And I will tell you, it's a national issue. And that's the message we all have to come together, be united, so we can advocate for investments here. So when we create more local water supply, we are diffuse the tension in the Bay Delta. The tension between the environmental community, the urban users, and the agricultural use. And we're working very hard on some voluntary agreements so at least we can move forward and not be stuck in courts, not knowing the future. And I say we need to do something more. We need to look for storage and really be bold and work hard on this issue. But also I know the chair of the board and the board is really interested in how we can also prepare our community. There's a lot of need in investing in underserved communities, and conservation is one area that we can do that. I talk to folks across our region, and we know that we have a lot of folks that do not have access to the rebate program that we offer, that you offer, and because they're busy working, they can't afford to put money out of their pocket. And what we want to do is challenge and change that and provide access so we can go build the improvements for you without you having to get money out of your pocket. Because we need to move hard on it. But also we have some policy issues that we have to deal with. Non-functional turf, is that something we should deal with? We need to send a message that non-functional turf should not be here. It's a waste of water. And also, we're going to be dealing with some issues regarding the actions that we have to do to ensure that we double down on conservation. But it's not one size fits all. I've had discussions with the board and MWDOC and others, and we understand that inside the homes, we've done good in conservation, and that water is getting into the recycling system, it's getting back into the ground. So if you reduce it, you're reducing your source of water, the new water that you're trying to bring, or recycled water. So we're trying to get the message to everyone. And we're going to do a lot of work on educating our policymakers on what it means. Because it's not just easy to say, cut down your water by 20%, 80%. We need to figure out how to do it together. Are you willing to invest in us? Recently, there was some discussion about whether we are eligible for funding when it comes to the drought funding from the state. And we got a message that if you're not declared emergency county, you should not get the money. We stood together, and we, as in the leadership of MET, and we sent a letter to the governor, to the Speaker of the Assembly, and to the Senate Pro Tem, and basically demanded that that investment be in us. And we made clear, and that letter was not just sent by member agencies, it was signed by business, by Chamber of Commerce, but also signed by NGOs and environmental groups. What we did is we made the tent bigger, put people together, because our strength is being together. I know we have little differences in our priorities and what we're dealing with, but our strength is to be together. Our strength is to work through this big tent and come under that big tent and work and collaborate. Because we have huge challenge and a huge opportunity to really make a difference in our future, the future of our children, provide resilient water for everyone. None of us want to turn the faucet on and not have water. Our mayors will not accept that. Our citizens, our residents, 19 million people, do not want to worry about it. But we need to have serious talk. We're doing campaigns and education when it comes to outreach. We're going to ensure that every penny is being looked at and how we're spending it. And I think we need to have some look at the investments we're making. And it's going to be exciting times. You have an agency in Met that's going to work for all of you. Going to work for every member agency. We're going to listen to you. We're going to work with you. We're going to support you. And we can't do it alone. So the work that we're going to do over the next year or two is going to be about developing the future for water and investments. We're going to build some infrastructure. There's some priorities that we have to do to ensure that some of our member agencies' systems are shored up and they're not suffering when they have the drought that we're dealing with and the zero allocation in the state water project. We need to make sure everybody's taken care of. We need to ensure that we are creating jobs and wealth for our community members through job creation. And that's important for the board and the chair, is diversity and hiring. And we need to collaborate. I want to have Met to work with every member agency and every water agency to, if they need the resource, technical resource, and applying for state revolving fund funding or, SRF funding, that we can help. Because I know it's difficult for some member agencies to apply. And there's a lot of money on the table. And a lot of it's going to be, 50% of it will be interest-free or principal forgiveness type of grants. But we need to help each other and help everyone, because together we can move forward. So I'm excited about the journey and excited for the partnership, excited to really serve you, because really it's all about people, all about uplifting people and planning for the future. Sometimes we take water for granted, but we know that water is life, water is business, water is the future, and we're going to do it together. So thank you, and I look forward to answering some questions here.
We went through this whole thing, picked our chairs, and I got confused and sat in here.
Have we checked the strength of this platform? As an engineer, I have to put my engineer hat. I'm just questioning how strong this is.
Okay. Well, let's see here. We had some questions that had been sent in. Oh, you already answered that one. Yeah, storage. Yeah, I got that covered. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Voluntary agreement. Yeah. Yeah.
You can ask.
Yeah,
Come
you
on.
got that
Ask.
one. Okay. Ready to go? Not yet. We want to know, we want you to know how gosh darn proud we are of those who came before us and allowed the Orange County folks to enjoy one of the most effective recycling programs in the state. Maybe the country, possibly the world. Maybe the planet. The intergalactic king of recycling. And we were wondering if you had any thoughts on your vision of maybe replicating this sort of success in LA and San Diego County. And if you did, how would Met make that magic?
Yeah. I applaud you. Orange County that has been the model of recycling and leading the path on doing it. So we all need to do that. I see West Places, EJ, and we're working really hard on that, and we need to continue that partnership between LA and San Diego. and West Basin. But also, San Diego is doing the pure water, and that's there now. And I know Las Virgenes is working hard on their pure water, Las Virgenes. I know the Inland Empire is working on advisory, working hard on that partnership with us. But to me, the discussion we need to have is, what role does Met have? I mean, we have the local resource program to subsidize some of it. But I'm right now looking at the magnitude of what we need to do. And that has to be done where each agency is doing it on their own. Or do we have to step in and really take on some regional projects ourselves? You know, we're partnering with the LA County Sanitation District on the regional recycled water project.
Really?
That, as you know, you're a board member.
Oh, that one.
Yeah.
The one in Carson.
The one in Carson.
The one that we're excited about.
That one we're
excited. The one that we think of as the largest river in California. That one.
So we are going to invest in that, and we have partnership from folks in Southern Nevada. And also, hopefully, the board will consider an agreement with the Central Arizona project to partner with us on this project, because we see the regional recycling project that we have here is not just for us here. It's going to help the entire, and how we can create this partnership. But I still think there's a place where we talked a little bit about it at the board. There's this new model where we can have Met actually put money in, invest money, and own the water and sell it as recycled water. Because what's happening if we continue doing what we're doing is basically we're paying agencies and member agencies and get off our system. And at some point is what happens to the cost of the system that we have that's going to be on standby. That's going to be costly. So what I think we need to do is think differently, have Met be the supplier of water, build local recycled water, build systems, store it, distribute the water, and let's talk about how we pay for it and share the cost, because that's going to be critical for all of us. You guys led the way, and as we move forward, we need to figure out how we continue doing it. And one idea I'm going to throw at is there's some opportunities for this decentralized treatment system where you have large demand for recycled water that's not being met. Okay, quickly come in and have a scalping plant and treat it and reuse it for irrigation that can help us, put the gap in place. And that's something we think we can do and look at as we are trying to build these large projects. So we learn from you, and we need to continue partnering and figure out how we work through this. But it's going to be a new business model, and our biggest project that we have is our regional recycled water project that hopefully we rebranded to something else, a different name. LA is looking at their Operation Next in Hyperion, and that's something we're going to collaborate on to make sure that we are not going after the same demand. We need to be coordinated, and that's why it's good to have a plan. It's one water plan for all of us that includes what's being done across the region and how we pay for it. It's not going to be just have everybody just give them money to go build their own system. We're going to figure out a way how we can help, because some member agencies have a hard time building their own system. It's going to be a huge cost to the taxpayers and to the residents, and we need to look at it on a bigger picture.
So we're talking about not paying people to do business with us, but facilitating expansion of water supplies with net taking an equity position so that we have something to sell to the investment. That's correct. And then we're talking about looking at the overall picture to make sure that we don't get too much going in one section and leaving another part of the service area dry. That's correct. You're right, Rob. We're going to like that. Would you mind telling me how you see Delta Conveyance fitting into one water?
I mean, Delta Conveyance is part of our system, and it's something that we need to look at it as an integrated part of our one water. However, we know the supplies are shrinking. Right now, we're going to have zero allocation coming up. So we need to continue looking for ways of how we move the next level and continue the planning for the conveyance system to ensure that the state water project is not impacted by earthquakes and seawater intrusion and many things. But I would challenge that right now it's going to take a long time. It's still in the planning phase. It's going to take a long time, probably 15 years, if not longer, to even move on this project. What I think we need to do is, one, take care of, figure out how we can put storage in place. And I think we need to push, and maybe there's a way we can peel off and figure out a way how we can build storage south of the Delta. There's also storage north of the Delta, but I'm interested in building storage south of the Delta that we can do. Because the state water project, a lot of people think it's just water. It's a water quality. The Colorado River has high salinity. The state water project was our blend, and we're able to blend it to make sure the water is acceptable. Now, with that source going away, it's creating a lot of issues with our salinity, and that's a challenge, and I know it's a big issue for your service area here. But I think we need to continue working with the state. I think getting the voluntary agreements in place to clearly understand how much water we're going to have access to, investing in building partnerships, and also maybe getting money from the state to invest in us here. I mean, that's critical. I think we need to, for a long time we've been paying money up to, the state on our contributions. Maybe it's time to invest in us and build our recycled water program.
Yeah, I understand it correctly. You see that continuing to be a significant part included trying to find storage actually closer to the point of need, and that a good idea for
It's salinity next.
Yeah. Okay. That's good. Well,
but also, I mean,
do you see Met's continuing commitment to the 2-tunnel program? Do you see us pivoting to a 1-tunnel thrust? Or do you see us just simmering on the back burner for that?
I mean, you know what the governor is on this. He's on the single tunnel. I think the single tunnel is the solution. And to me, the board have only acted on the planning funding, but at some point we have to act on that project. But I'm seeing, no matter how big you build your pipelines, it's all going to be what's water available to go into these pipes. And you can build the largest pipes in the world. You can build 3 tunnels. If you don't have water going in it, it's not going to do any good. What I think we need, and I'm going to push hard and quick thing that we need to do, because this drought, if we have a wet year, my biggest thing is how we can harness that water and have it available. And it's going to be storage. And I'm going to push hard for storage, both local storage around groundwater basins, plus also see if we can get the state to peel off on some of the discussion on the conveyance and maybe build some major storage somewhere along the southern part of the state water project.
Well, I'm delighted to hear that, and I'm not going to mention their names because I don't want to embarrass Carl Seckel. But he wanted to know if you thought there was some way that we could help continue to convince the governor that, I mean, this isn't like a sweatshirt where one size fits all.
Yeah.
This is a special plan. We have at Met, we have, 3.5 million acre-feet of water in storage. Director Ortega earlier mentioned the fact that might very well be the most water in storage any civilized nation has ever had. In anticipation of this drought, we've done that work. We've worked hard on the water use efficiency. Mm-hmm. And for us to have this water in storage and not be able to access it would be a frightening dimension. So do you think that you and your good officers can convince the governor that one size does not fit all?
No, one size does not fit all, but also we need to have storage that is downstream of the daylight.
Absolutely.
And I think there's something that we need to have a discussion on it and how we pay for it. It's part of the infrastructure improvements. And that's something we need to do, because what keeps me up at night is part of our service area is only getting one source of water from one connection point. And to me, in 2021, that's not acceptable. And I want to figure out how we do that. I want to build the infrastructure to get the water over to them. We just finished a project recently on a pump station to allow some of that water to come from the Colorado over. We had an agreement between LA and Metropolitan, the city of Los Angeles, to shift some water, to have us give them Colorado water, and they can give the state water project water. But to me, we need to get to the root issue, which is infrastructure, and the state has to help us. We are no longer have to just keep putting money, hoping for something to come up, and we're going to wait for 15, 20 years before we do any improvement. But we're going to advocate for this. This is going to be something that we're going to be pushing hard on. That's why I'm supporting us getting an agreement on the voluntary agreements, that there creates a balance, that we have some clear direction of how much water is going to be available to us. But then building storage, and then continuing the planning for the conveyance system, because that infrastructure is critical for resiliency, and that's going to be critical for all of us to ensure we do that. But whether we go to 2-tunnel or that, I think that train has left the station. I think we're talking 1 tunnel, and that's something that I think if we can move it quickly and get that in place, it's critical that we can get going, and hopefully storage can be some interim solution for all of us.
Storage makes sense no matter what happens.
Yeah.
Everyone in this room has heard about the big gulp, little sip. And so when the big gulp comes along, we need a place to put that water.
Exactly.
Talking about infrastructure, something that's obviously near to your heart. Tell us about some existing infrastructure. Tell us about what's going on with Orville.
Orville is, as you know, it's the storage for our system going south in the state water project and the system. And as you know, it's running dry. And we stopped the operation or they stopped the operation of the electric generation. So we don't get power from that. What does that mean for us? Is it more cost? We're not getting water, so really it's, you can't, it's not going to be an impact. But I think I will shift to the other side on the Colorado, where we are actually expecting there is loss on Hoover Dam on generating the hydroelectric power that we use for our conveyance and the pump system that we have. We used to get 2/3 of it from the Hoover Dam from hydropower. Now it's going to shrink down to even maybe 50% or even lower, and that's going to increase the cost because now we have to buy electric power off the market, and that's going to increase the cost. So the cost of conveying Colorado water, as the levels in Lake Mead are dropping, we're seeing less energy being generated, and that means we have to pay more. So every year we're paying, I think last year was $80 million or so. We project probably going to be $80 to $90 million because of this reduced level in Lake Mead that basically reduces the generation of hydroelectric power. That means we have to buy power, which to me is interesting because that people don't think of that relationship between water and power and how it relates. So we have a huge interest in increasing levels of Lake Mead. We're negotiating with our partners, but really working hard with the irrigation districts. We have great partnership with Palo Verde, and we have an agreement with the Bureau of Reclamations in Southern Nevada and the Arizona California, the Central Arizona project recently to invest money in fallowing land in Palo Verde, doing conservation on the land so we have to reduce consumption because that water can be kept in Lake Mead. We have a lot of storage in Lake Mead. But also, we just settled a lawsuit. The board just approved the settlement with Imperial Irrigation District for a long time, and that's going to open the door, hopefully, for the relationship with the Imperial Irrigation District to help us save water and continue building that relationship as we negotiate the agreements, because we need to figure out how we can put more water in storage, reduce our consumption of water. It's not just here. It's across our region. And we have a deadline of 2025 to finish the negotiation. We're going to be working hard on it. And it's interesting that partnership is helping us with the federal government in getting funding for our recycled water program. We were able to get $1 billion of recycled water in the work being done now in D.C., but what we were afraid of initially was that some of the senators, especially Senator Manchin, was thinking that this recycled water project for large recycled water program is mainly for California. And we had to really work hard to act quickly to get the message across to him and his staff as part of reconciliation. This is not just a California issue. It's not Southern California. This is a regional Southwest issue. So we had people from Southern Nevada, from Arizona, from others calling and putting their, calling the senators to reach out to the Senator Manchin to ensure that they see investment in recycled water here is not just a local investment. This is for the region as a whole. It's for resolving the issues between the 7 states, the country of Mexico, and the tribes. So we're working really hard on it. We're working really hard on how we do that. But the levels in Lake Mead has a huge impact financially on us. But Lake Oroville is critical, and that's why we have the zero allocation. That's coming, I think, over next, we're going to hear about it soon. But I think we're going to be able to work through it. And the planning for drought does not happen when the drought happens. This is a plan that we need to continue working on. And I'm going to just ask that we don't forget when we have rain tomorrow, we have rain next year, or we have good snowpack, that we don't forget about our planning. We don't pull back. We need to march forward. And we need to continue working hard on building a plan. And I know my board is committed to working on developing a clear plan moving forward, because we always have the one to do it.
We have time if we ask a couple of questions.
I'm here as long as you want.
Well, Damon's only got these chairs running for a certain amount of time.
That's okay.
And I
can
sit
sit on the
back to
floor
the
too.
mortuary before noon. We will allow you to ask questions at this point, so who wants to stand up and we'll get a microphone to you. If you don't have any questions, I will ask some, and mine are not all that interesting. Jim.
Thank you. When they had this last policy forum dinner, we heard from your predecessor that one of the problems in discussing the Delta was the lack of support from the mayors across the state's major cities. And I'm wondering if you have a plan moving forward to support of those mayors in trying to move the Delta project forward. I think that's an important step that we need to be confronting. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. And Jim, thanks for the question. And I want to acknowledge Jeff. Let's give Jeff a hand. I think we need to educate everyone. We need to educate our local policymakers. We need to educate our residents for the value of water, what we're doing. We need also to educate our representatives in Sacramento. But it's not just, if we just talk about just the state water project and the conveyance project and, the Bay Delta issue, if it's by itself, I think you may lose some focus. I think it should be part of a holistic presentation on the plan. We need to tell our story. The story of Southern California that we've done. I said 20 years ago, our plan was to have 3.2 million acre-feet of water. Today, we're using 1.6. And it's the same water we used 40 years ago. We've done our homework. If you look at conservation, the water we're using today is the same as we were using 40 years ago. So I think we cannot just take one issue and present that, because you're going to get people against it. But if you wrap it in a bow, wrap it in a big picture, one water picture, and tell the environs, tell the mayors that this plan is part of a holistic solution. So we're developing local water supply. We've done that. We need to do more. We're doing more. But we can't do it alone. You're going to help us. But also, we need to ensure that all our water supplies are protected and create a balance. So I would say yes, but let's not just talk about one thing. Let's bring the entire picture into the entire plan. So good seeing you. What I bring and what I think I'm very proud of is bringing people together. Looking forward, developing a plan. When I worked on the One Water LA plan and the work we did in the IFP, it was very hard, and it's very diverse and very conflicted areas between the environmental community and local businesses and folks in different parts of the city. But we were able to bring and develop a stakeholder process to engage people into what we need to do. We're able to get sewer rates increased by doing this education and planning and building relationships, resolving conflict and resolving lawsuits, and getting over that and building partners. Making sure everybody feels and provides a voice for everyone to feel that the plan is their plan. It's not just somebody walking in. I'll tell you a story for me, what I've learned during my career that transformed me I was working on removing nutrients from the discharge from our Tillman plant in the San Fernando Valley, and I wanted to build a constructed wetlands. I believe in natural solutions, and I wanted to build it because it's a natural process, doesn't consume energy, doesn't reduce the capacity of the plant for treatment. And I had a plan. We developed a feasibility study. We went in, and I was meeting with community members, getting everybody behind it. And the easiest one I thought I would go to is the Audubon Society, the Wildlife Committee, and I had a meeting with them. And I was sitting late at night and presenting it. It was a perfect presentation of what's going to look like. And every single person that should love the wetlands, the habitat, all that, went against it. I was like getting hammered. I didn't know what happened. Everyone saying no. I was like, I thought you guys should be the people. This is for you. And the answer was no. So I asked a friend of mine who's the head of the Canada Goose Project to stay at the end, and we chatted afterwards. Said, what happened? What went wrong? He said, it was your idea. You came with a plan that was perfect, and they had no chance or voice in it. It was not theirs. It was yours. And she said, maybe you should come next time with a blank piece of paper, get and provide input, and you go work on it and come back and present that. What I learned is we need to have everybody at the table. Everybody should be involved. We all have to talk to each other and develop a plan for us, by us, not by somebody behind closed doors. I know engineers love to work behind closed doors. We all cannot afford that because people have to pay for it. So in LA, we work really hard on educating our residents on the value of stormwater. And we're able to get 2 measures passed, Proposition O and Measure W with the county. I worked really hard on Measure W, getting everybody behind it. And that came from the One Water Plan. We even developed things that were different in planning. For example, building a sewer that goes against gravity to take flow from the part of San Fernando Valley that was going down to the ocean, to Hagekhalil, and rerouting the sewage through pumps all the way to Tillman plant, where you have potential for recycled groundwater recharge. That shift in thinking only happens when you educate, because there is a cost of that water, but we understand that needs to be done. So what I've learned is engagement, building stakeholder process, planning for the future, and being real about the issues. You know, we need to talk straight and have the discussion and put everything on the table. And we need to be honest with our ratepayers and tell them the truth, because they need to see what you're doing for them and why you're costing. So this is what I've learned, and I think there's nothing that we can't do if we work together. Okay.
Okay, that's it. If Carl's going to ask questions, that's the last one.
What do you say? Carl's going to ask a question. Sit down. Adel, thank you for your presentation tonight. Question for you. You mentioned a couple of times how well we've done in Orange County and Southern California in water use efficiency. The question I have is, how do we collectively figure out how far we can push that envelope and still be reasonable about it? Because at some point you're going to get to a point of diminishing returns. And so how do you sort through that and figure out where that is?
Yeah, I mean, it has to be done as part of the evaluation of the value of that water. Where is that point where we're on the curve that where you are putting too much money? What is that point? I don't know what that is. But we all know that when you need water, you need to have water. So we need to balance the risk. We just finished some of the initial work on the integrated resource plan and did some projections on different alternatives. There's a worst case scenario, so we need to take the worst case scenario on the ground and continue to figure out how much is the gap and how much is the storage issues and what we're looking at, and see how we can close the gap. At the end of the day, it's about defining the gap and how you're going to meet the gap. And that's something that I'm looking forward to, taking that information and building the infrastructure plan for it. Some of it is policy on conservation. I think there's things that we can do quickly. Some of it is building infrastructure. And some is building infrastructure when triggered, not when immediately. So it could be a trigger in managing and monitoring what's happening. And there's a point in time, if an indicator tells you something, then you can trigger the initiation of the project. So that has to be done through this one water planning that we're talking, which is going to be the next step to taking the IRP that we just are completing right now to the next level.
Thank you.